there is a moment most people know. You're sitting somewhere. Nothing is wrong. You're not hungry, not tired, not in pain. You have your phone. You have options. You have every piece of entertainment ever made available at your fingertips. And yet, something is missing. Something feels hollow. You scroll through everything and want none of it. You put the phone down and pick it back up 3 seconds later. You're not looking for anything specific. You're just trying to escape a feeling you can't quite name. That feeling is boredom. And almost everything you think you know about it is wrong. For most of human history, boredom wasn't even considered a real experience. The ancient Greeks had no word for it. Medieval monks described something close to it, a creeping spiritual emptiness they called acedia, but they thought it was a moral failing, a sign of weakness in the soul. For centuries, the assumption was simple. If you're bored, you're just not trying hard enough to engage with the world around you. That assumption has survived almost intact into modern life. We treat boredom like a problem to be solved, something to be filled, eliminated. We carry devices specifically designed to ensure we never have to sit with it for more than a few seconds. But here is what the research actually shows. Boredom is not emptiness. It is not a lack of stimulation. It is not what happens when there's nothing to do. Boredom is a signal, a specific, meaningful, neurologically distinct signal. And your brain has been sending it your entire life. Most people just never learned how to read it. To understand what it actually is, you need to understand what your brain is doing when it gets bored. Your brain is not a passive receiver. It doesn't just sit there waiting for input from the outside world. It is constantly, actively generating predictions. Every second you're awake, your brain is running simulations, anticipating what's about to happen, what you're about to feel, what matters, and what doesn't. It is, at its core, a prediction machine, and it has a hierarchy of goals. At the top of that hierarchy is not pleasure, not comfort, not safety. At the very top is something more fundamental, meaning. Your brain is always asking, underneath everything else, does this matter? Is this going somewhere? Does this connect to something larger than right now? When the answer is yes, the brain engages. It focuses. Time compresses. When the answer is no, when your brain looks at what you're doing and concludes that it is going nowhere, connecting to nothing, mattering to no one including yourself, it sends a signal. That signal is boredom, not as a punishment, not as a malfunction, as a message. The message is, this isn't it. Keep looking. Researchers at the University of Waterloo spent years studying what happens in the brain during boredom, and what they found reframed everything. Boredom activates the default mode network, the same brain network that activates during daydreaming, during creative thinking, during the moments when your best ideas arrive in the shower or on a walk. The bored brain is not an idle brain. It is a brain that has turned inward, that is searching, that is scanning for something it hasn't found yet. This is why some of history's most creative people actively protected their boredom. Einstein described long stretches of doing nothing as essential to his thinking. Darwin built a daily walk into his routine, a specific path, nothing to look at, nothing to engage with. He called it his thinking path. Newton, sitting in a garden with nothing to do, watched an apple fall. The question was already in his mind. Boredom gave it room. But here is where something has gone deeply wrong. The average person today spends over 4 hours a day on their phone, not working, not creating, consuming. And that number goes up every year. What this means, in neurological terms, is that we have built an entire infrastructure specifically designed to intercept the boredom signal before it can be processed. before the brain can ask what it actually wants, before the default mode network can activate, before the searching can begin. Every notification, every scroll, every autoplay video is a way of saying to your brain, you don't have to feel that. Here, feel this instead. And the brain accepts the trade. Because it's easier. Because stimulation feels like engagement even when it isn't. Because the brain is wired to move toward input, and a phone provides endless input, and endless input feels like the opposite of boredom, even when it is producing none of the things boredom was trying to find. This is why you can spend 3 hours on your phone and feel somehow more empty than when you started. You fed the brain stimulation. But stimulation is not the same as meaning, and meaning is what the signal was asking for. There is a concept in psychology called ego depletion, the idea that self-control and decision-making draw from a limited resource that gets used up through the day. Boredom researchers have found something adjacent, that the chronic avoidance of boredom, the constant reflexive reach for a phone or a screen, produces a kind of meaning depletion, a slow, invisible erosion of the sense that anything matters. People who never allow themselves to be bored report higher rates of anxiety, higher rates of depression, a persistent low-level feeling that life is somehow passing them by without their participation. Because it is. The boredom signal was trying to redirect them. They kept silencing it, and over time the silence became its own kind of noise. There is a study you should know about. Researchers at the University of Virginia sat participants in a room with nothing to do for 15 minutes. No phone, no book, nothing. Their only option was to sit with their thoughts, or to press a button that would deliver a mild electric shock. A shock that the participants had already said before entering the room they would pay money to avoid. 67% of men pressed the button. 25% of women did. One participant shocked himself 190 times in 15 minutes. They chose pain over boredom. Think about that. Not because they were strange people, but because sitting with boredom, with the signal, with the searching, with the uncomfortable space of not knowing what you want, is genuinely difficult. We are not trained to do it. We are trained to do the opposite. And this is the part that should stay with you. Every time you have ever been truly bored, not overstimulated, not distracted, but genuinely uncomfortably bored, your brain was in a state of active searching. It was running its deepest operating system, looking for something real, something that mattered, something worth moving toward. The people who let that process run, who sit in the discomfort instead of immediately escaping it, are the people who tend to find it. The direction, the idea, the thing they actually want that they couldn't have named 5 minutes earlier. Boredom is not a problem your phone was designed to solve. It is a question your life was designed to answer. And every time you reach for the screen before the question fully forms, you don't solve it, you just postpone it.